Hi, welcome back to Cambridge Inside Out. I'm Judy Nathans.
And I'm Robert Winters.
Yeah, and we're gonna
We were
continue to talk about stuff in City Council because you're
Yeah.
talking about the
I'll just
Government
do
Operations
one-
Committee. Yeah.
One quick little add-on
Yeah.
to the Government Operations
Okay.
Committee. Because I usually know what the rules are pretty well, but
Yeah.
it was actually something I didn't, if I knew it, I'd forgotten about it, which is that, we were talking about this idea about city councilors having little private working groups, kind of out of public eye in this sort of age of the open meeting law.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's a little weird, right? But Mayor Simmons actually pointed out that, in fact, any city councilor can just basically say, I want to have a meeting on such and such,
Yeah.
and just have it, as long as it's given 48 hours notice,
Yeah.
and then invite other councilors and whatever as a public meeting.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to fit into the city council's committee structure at all. So
Hmm.
there is actually a mechanism through which you can actually have public meetings on topics of some interest that, are a little bit out of the usual. And I think that's a sort of a good thing. They should do that
They'd have
more
to
often.
be published and announced and all that.
You just have to make public aware of it. So it's
Yeah.
48 hours notice.
48 hours.
So I think I might have referred to him as an ad hoc committee of one, right? So if Counselor so-and-so decides, hey, I want to have a meeting on such and such a topic, well, this is a great way to make it a public meeting. So if somebody has something good to add to the conversation, they
Right.
can come to the meeting.
Yeah.
So I think they should do that more. Actually, another thing I told them to do, I said,
Yeah.
every one of your city council committees should have their own webpage. And so
Whoa,
if somebody just wants to
nice.
know what's the economic development committee doing,
Yeah.
you can go there. It's got, this is our mission, our plan
Also, all
for the term.
you can even though the committee reports are in other parts of the website, you
They
can put them there.
They should be there as well.
directly
and
there.
so you can just say,
Yeah.
I just want to find out what
Yeah.
the Human Services Committee is up
That's
to.
a good
And you just
idea.
go there.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty well received.
Good.
So I was trying to be
It
constructive.
wouldn't take
here.
too much to do it. They're
No, I
easy
think
to do it.
it's real easy.
Yeah.
It's real easy, and the
Yeah.
capability is already there. It's
Right.
just that it's just not
It's transferring
utilized
some
because
information. Yeah.
they never got people sort of
Yeah.
energized to do it. So
Right. Well,
let's
they
do
have
it, right?
aids. They can
And
do that.
those are people who would actually make those
Exactly.
things happen.
Yeah.
So that would be really great. So anyway, that was Monday morning.
Right.
In the evening, there was city council meeting. A pleasantly short agenda.
Yeah. More public comment than meeting, it seems.
Yeah,
Or at
definitely.
least,
Yeah, but the
more
meeting itself
contentious, yeah.
ended pretty early. It was
Very
kinda nice.
early. It was by between 7 and 7:30.
Something like
Crazy.
that.
Yeah.
And we were actually sort of in the side room, figuring it was going to end at a certain hour. It ended up dragging on because of a little bit of controversy at the end, but
What
but
was
you
the
know.
end? I'm trying to
Well,
remember
actually,
now.
that's one
Oh,
thing I did
okay,
want to
all right.
touch on. The main thing was the passage of the budget. Right, that's
Right.
arguably there are the two most I'll say the three most important things the city council does.
Mm-hmm.
One is hire a city manager,
Mm-hmm.
probably the most important.
Yeah.
The other one is they pass ordinances, and particularly zoning ordinances, right? And that helps sort of shape things.
One of the most controversial. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So those are the sort of big things that they do. And the other thing is that though they don't usually do anything to sort of modify it, technically speaking, they have to approve the budget.
Yeah.
So they don't initiate it, the manager does. But there's a lot of feedback,
Yeah.
leading up to the day when they actually do it. They have budget hearings where they essentially never change the amount.
I was going to say, has there ever been much of a change of any?
No, well, in years
department
past there
eliminated?
were. No, the city council really can't do that.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, it's the city manager that basically structures the way the departments are.
But say the city manager said, okay, we don't need this department anymore. Could the city council, yes, we do?
They could say it, but the thing is that
They
the
have no
manager,
control over that?
the manager has to manage, and the manager, chooses whatever
So then
managerial
does their
structure
approval
works.
mean anything then, city council?
For things like that, no. But the thing is, the
Yeah.
way it would work, it was
Yeah.
so as we what we might call at the federal level the nuclear option, which is that if the manager just goes off, half cock and
Right.
starts, just
Yeah.
eliminating important services or
Which is
whatever,
what's happening now.
the city council
Federal
could always
level.
fire
Yeah.
them.
Oh, okay.
That's sort of the nuclear option.
Oh,
It
wouldn't that
doesn't-
be nice if we had that on the federal level?
Right, but so that's not usually what. And besides, the thing is, if ever that was a city manager felt that his or her actions were so egregious
Yeah.
that the council was ready to sort of throw you
Yeah.
out, chances are the manager would kind of modify. So,
Sure.
So anyway, so the manager kind of sets it all up, submits a budget, but ultimately, though the city council, has hearings and they talk to the city, city department heads a little bit.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they just sort of vote up or down. They could eliminate things. They can't add anything, but they can take away, and they have. Oftentimes as leverage. I remember withholding money for the community development department back in the early 90s because they would have a beef with the boss of CDD at the time. They did the same thing with, what was it, the Arts Council, the public celebrations budget, because there was a dispute with the dance complex.
So how did that get resolved?
Eventually the leverage, I think, led to a little bit more independence of the dance complex from the Cambridge Multicultural Arts Center, which was the sort of fiduciary entity that kind of owned it when it was set up in the first place.
Oh, I remember that whole thing.
So, every once in a blue moon, the city council can do a little bit of leveraging this way, but for the most part, it's sort of nickels and dimes, Even if they hold back money, it's like 0.0001% of the budget.
Is it based on constituent concerns? Is that why that led them to that?
I don't know if it's
pressure from
They're getting pressure from some individuals, and it usually doesn't happen because it usually gets worked out elsewhere before it happens. But so anyway, they did the budget on Monday.
They started to go piece by piece, because I was listening to it and saying, "Wait a minute, they're going to go every budget, every department."
It's a
and then
weird
it stopped. It was weird.
Basically, they divvy it up into three. There's the budget hearings don't exactly align with the reports. This is the one time in the year that's the case. There's one says it's a committee report having to do with the water fund. There's a committee having to do with the general fund.
Okay.
And then there's a committee report having to do with the public investments.
Oh, so that's separate than the whole.
Right.
Okay.
Now the
That's
total
what was
is
going
like
on.
$600 million.
Whatever. I saw that.
Right, but they are voted as three separate votes.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying that, because
so
all of a sudden
fund,
it went
that's
to
where all
like
the
the
city
whole.
departments are.
I get it.
So that's 500 some odd
I wasn't paying full
$1 million
attention.
for that.
Yeah.
They also approved there's these loan orders. They were voted to a second reading a month ago, and they traditionally they do them all together because in addition to the money you're actually budgeting, there's also money you're borrowing. That's what the loan orders are, which are exclusively for capital projects like water and sewer infrastructure, school buildings, streets and sidewalks.
Got a lot of that
like
going on.
Yeah. So anyway, they took care of everything. Everybody was happy, and and thankfully we didn't have to get the annoying process of having 9 city councilors going into big long speeches. Thank you very much, Mr. City Manager, for all your wonderful.
Who was absent? They kept saying 8
Leland,
plus.
Leland Shaw wasn't there. I asked about it. It's this kid. He's got a new child.
Oh, he has another new child.
Yeah, and he's basically, even though he's a city councilor, sometimes duty calls and you're a parent. It happens, right? So that was something. There was one thing we should talk about at another time, I think, but there's this ongoing matter of the Alston the Mass Pike realignment.
Yep.
And there was big communication from former Mayor Henrietta Davis.
She wrote a letter. She's a member of the task force, which is Alston. She's the Cambridge representative.
So there was a policy order that basically said, yes, we endorse what Henrietta said. And the manager sort of put his stamp of approval on this here as well. This is a project. Some people argue it's going to have big impacts on Cambridge. I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, they won't be able to make that right turn. That's the big concern.
Which honestly doesn't bother me at all.
I know, but it bothers. It's a lot of in this report.
Right now, what Judy's talking about is this idea about if right now when you're on OnStar Drive heading west, you can get off the River Street exit and bang right into Cambridge.
Or even from the Mass Pike, you can get into that mess, but still go over the bridge there. I think even that's going to change.
Everything's going to change because right now the way the traffic queues up is nightmarish.
Absolutely.
So they're going to change everything there, and it's actually really exciting.
Because there's going to be stations and rail station. That whole area in Alston
there'll be a new rail station. There will be a whole new road network put in. There are nothing but just derelict railroad tracks now.
Grand Junction Rail
Well, the thing is that
Yeah,
Henrietta's letter actually specifically wanted to make sure that the Grand Junction Railroad,
would
which
go to
feeds through
Kendall,
there,
yeah,
that many of the aspirations people have had of
Yeah.
having that be a connection
to
for
Kendall.
pedestrians
Right.
and bikes
Oh,
and
that
whatever
too,
through
yes.
there, that actually should get rolled into this, which I think is
Yes.
a great idea.
Yes,
But it's a very complicated project. It would actually do some changes to Star Drive. It would create a
Oh,
lot more
it's
green
gonna
space,
yeah, it's gonna be.
much better
completely-
connections for pedestrians and bicyclists.
Yeah,
I just think it's a wonderful project. It's going to take a bunch of years to get done.
yeah, and noisy and all, she refers to all, it's a very good letter to read, but
Yeah.
also all the plans for it are available.
Talk to the people up
Oh.
on Huron Avenue, right?
Yeah,
You know, because
Wow.
sometimes you do have to put up with a few years of
but that's right, in the city,
displeasure.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just
you know-
people complain about because it's basically,
It's across the
benefiting the
river,
other, yeah.
but
but
you'll still,
access,
you know,
yeah, it affects it,
it'll-
oh, definitely.
and there'll be traffic implications
Mhm.
at times, I'm sure. But anyway, it's a great project, and it's still being modified.
Yep.
Though I think
And we
they're,
hope to have either Henrietta or maybe Kathy Zusi, who's been involved. to
yeah, I
come
think
on
that'd be
as a
really
guest and
great
really,
because it's
talk about it.
it's really interesting city planning type stuff.
Yeah,
All because they got to do some upgrades.
well, they
to
got
those
rid of the
bikes.
toll booths, that's really one of the first steps.
Yeah.
So that whole redesign,
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, that's a pretty cool thing.
okay,
And actually, there was one other thing, and then we'll sort of leave the
Mm-hmm.
the city council meeting stuff. There's one order which it sort of seemed a little benign at first
and you
look.
last night?
Yeah, last night it was basically it said it was from Councilor Carlone, and it said we want to sort
Oh.
of say how much we support the efforts
Assembly Square, the
of
whole
an
Somerville.
individual
Yeah.
Somerville alderman.
Yes. Yeah.
Who was sort of fighting the good fight for
Spearheading,
affordable
right.
housing, right?
Right,
You might think, well, all right, fine. Well, the problem is it's an
You need
election year, so
somebody,
it,
yeah,
basically the implication is
Yeah.
you got the Cambridge City Council
right,
writing an order that basically is
Endorses a
endorsing it.
candidate,
I mean, not explicitly, but implicitly
and I
endorsing
think that
a single
totally was
candidate.
not what he was intending, Carlone. I think
No,
that
and
sort of
he
took him-
agreed to actually have the
Exactly,
name
remove the
removed,
name,
right?
yeah.
But there was still controversy
Yeah.
because the big fight here. It's similar to what happens at North Point in that the
It's
project that
right.
this was all the Flashpoint was about had to do with
a PUD, right?
it was
Sort of
well,
like that, it had already been agreed upon
it was
as-
agreed upon before,
right.
you know, so Somerville, like Cambridge, increased their inclusionary zoning affordable housing percentage, right? 20%?
Has it actually gone up to that?
Yes.
Okay, but just recently,
Right, but the thing is that
Yeah.
as was the case with North Point, there
Yeah.
are projects that were approved
under the
long
11.5,
before under the old rules,
Right.
right? And you can't kind of bait and switch here, right? I
Right.
mean, the thing is that if you got your approvals and your financing all set up under a certain set of rules,
Right,
you can't just sort of change the rules. And from a legal point of view, that I think is obvious. It
Yeah.
should be obvious. Yet there were advocates in Somerville going gung-ho saying, no, we must demand 20% affordable housing.
yeah,
I said, well, great, demand it all you want. If it goes to court, you're going to lose.
because it's legally, they were
I
in their
think
rights, the developer. did.
Mayor Curtatone and his staff in Somerville, I think they completely understood that.
Yeah,
So they chose a different tack, which is let's try and negotiate and see if we can get a
a
little
little
more.
bit more, but without putting
and-
this kind of.
Right. So in other words, you'd have to grant a waiver to this particular project down around Assembly Row. Basically, because if you don't, you're going to run into legal quagmire. But maybe we can get them to pitch in a little more, and they did. So it's really more now in the neighborhood about 15% rather than the whatever
so they
it
did
was,
get
the
that?
12.5% that it was. Yep.
11.5.
The one thing, another part that's a little bit controversial was that unlike Cambridge, where
Yeah.
we insist that if you're building an inclusionary project, the affordable units have to be integrated into the very project.
And not just on one floor, or,
Actually, it's even more than
Oh.
that. In Boston and in Somerville, you can apparently contribute money to a fund which enables you to then build your affordable housing
Off-site.
at a different location.
Yeah.
Which that would never fly in Cambridge because the big part of the philosophy of inclusionary zoning is economic integration.
yeah, but there's only, the one thing about it, I don't, I've seen some of these developments that are, and I guess I heard someone talk about it, they're real fancy, and then there's the people that have the inclusionary units, and they feel totally separate from the overall
Right.
mix in that building or the income level. And,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, these are low, moderate. You know, it doesn't. You know, you're not. Oh, that person's poor. You don't know that right away. So what's wrong with a few off-site things? If you can,
I don't think-
where are they going to find the room for it? That's
if
what
you
I
could-
really want to know.
If you could, I mean, I think what.
Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you
Depends on
something
the
else.
level of the.
If
yeah.
you could incorporate, let's say, you know, for instead of putting, let's say, 10 units of affordable housing into a project,
Yeah.
if you could, with the money that you get instead,
Yeah.
build 15 of them in a different location, you
Yeah.
might argue then you end up with a net gain of 5. So you get
Right.
more housing units, more affordable housing units,
But
but
people
a
say
little
that's
less
not-
economic integration.
Yeah, but you know what's
a trade-off.
economic and it's great. It's low to moderate,
I know,
and
I
then
know.
moderate to low moderate. You know,
Yeah.
it's all kinds of
I know.
income levels
Well, I mean,
there.
truth is the inclusionary
Yeah.
units in Cambridge are primarily targeted toward middle income earners.
Well, some are seniors on SSI, or
Right,
yeah,
but-
or some of the newer ones. You're
Yeah,
right.
I mean, there are public housing
Yeah.
options and other options
True.
for
Yeah.
low income. And I think there's always people wanting to make sure there's more and more for low income as well.
Yeah, but you don't want to
but-
feel like you're one out of, you know, or the whole, well, in the New York where they had the actual back door, but that's different. I mean,
Right.
you know,
But the thing is you can't.
I like the idea of it, but you know, they tried to do that at the high school 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Remember? Oh, everybody's the same. We're going to have classes
know,
for 2
I know,
years,
I know.
and that did not fly.
Yeah, but
There's gotta be other
but there
ways
are
of looking at
limitations
stuff.
if you're trying to
Exactly.
accommodate middle income earners.
Middle income,
Be-
definitely.
Because you can't, if you're getting federal or state funds
Yeah.
to build your affordable housing
Yeah.
project,
Yeah,
sorry, they're not allowed in if they're middle income. So
yeah,
so
Right.
they make maximal use of the
Yeah.
inclusionary program, which is
Yeah.
under city's control,
yeah,
and without federal funds because they're privately built,
yeah,
to basically target what they cannot accommodate otherwise.
yeah,
So that's kind of how we do it in Cambridge. But
yeah.
anyway,
It's got to be
the-
flexible.
on that order, the
Yeah.
city council order, truth is you have the mayor of Somerville
Yeah,
was pretty much, you know, shepherding through a good compromise. I think that he
Mhm.
did a good job.
yeah,
And this very this same alderman that was going to get championed in this council order, apparently, he and supporters were pretty much ripping the
Yeah.
mayor of Somerville to shred as he's taking money from developers and
because they did
very
not
insulting.
grant. They did not grant the waiver, right? Isn't that the thing that happened? They did not
No,
allow.
they granted the waiver in Somerville
Oh, the
to allow the
waiver-
project to go forward with the old percentages rather than the
Right.
new percentages.
I thought it was the other way around. I don't
Right.
know why they needed a waiver when they were legally within their rights.
Well,
It was whatever.
I think
The
it's maybe
point
just
is,
how the thing was written.
it was yeah.
But basically,
So
to
it's
pass
bad
this
stuff,
Cambridge
yeah.
City Council order as is,
It would have
would
been
basically
very,
be, you know, giving a
Endorsing.
big pat on the
Yeah.
back to somebody who basically just, you know, ripped the
Right.
mayor of Somerville to shreds.
So they
So-
changed that.
So I think, so they depersonalized it,
Right.
right?
There's a lot of depersonalization going on in that meeting.
Yeah,
I noticed it.
yeah.
Because people were using names, and we do not call out names.
Well,
it happened throughout the meeting. Through
Bless
public-
Mayor Simmons
Yeah,
for
she was-
enforcing the
right,
rules.
yes.
I appreciate her a lot for
Absolutely.
doing that.
Yeah.
Now, there's something that's happening tonight and tomorrow night,
Oh.
which is a kind of an ongoing topic.
Oh, the Airbnb.
I might argue it's sort of like, it's probably the sort of the big,
It's-
other than Envision Cambridge, it's sort of the
yeah,
big thing
because
right
it's
now.
also it's being dealt with on the state level and
Yeah.
and really around the country.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
Airbnb,
Yeah.
and you know, last
Or
summer
temporary
there were
lodging,
hearing, short-term rentals. Because it's not just Airbnb.
Home
there are other,
away.
yeah, there are a few other ones.
And,
Airbnb is sort of the big one.
I forget there's another one.
Right,
Something.
Actually, we're doing our retreat for the program working in an Airbnb place. I've never
Oh,
been in one.
right,
so-
you're doing that.
Yeah, we're doing it next week, so we'll see what it's all about, I guess. But anyway, I think it's fair to say that the question is sort of coming to a head because it has to. I don't know about what's happening at the state level currently, but you know, there's questions about giving enabling legislation to have it be taxable, you know, so you can generate tax revenue from Airbnb short-term rentals. But in Cambridge, what you do is you do it through zoning. So at least that's the only thing the Cambridge City Council has some control over. So there are two competing zoning petitions.
Well, okay.
And they're both in front of the planning board tonight, starting at 6:30. One is called the Cockrell petition, which is arguably filed by industry people. And then there's the City Council petition, filed by the Cambridge City Council.
Okay.
I somehow feel the
So
second one
it
has the
changes
better
zoning.
chance.
It doesn't ask for registration or
Um,
get permits or.
those are things that would have to work out with
That
regulations,
sounds
with
crazy
inspection
though with the
services.
zoning, cause most people that rent it out are in residential zones.
Well, I mean, there are places where, well,
I
right
didn't
now,
realize that.
there Airbnbs are, a lot of them in Cambridge.
I know that,
We
but,
certainly got to see a lot of those stats last summer.
right, but a
but-
lot of them are in homes.
They are in homes, and they are in
And the
zone
people live in
areas that
those
are not
homes.
designed, they're not zoned for hotel use. And arguably, I mean, is Airbnb a hotel use or not?
I think when it's, a property's bought separately to be just that, that's a different story than someone
Right.
in their home renting out a room.
Right, so
So I
for
don't
a
see-
residential building, it's not at all clear that buying
Yeah,
it
I guess
and
I
then
don't see this as a
renting-
zoning issue at all, I'm sorry, that's.
Well, but
And I
that's,
haven't
that's
heard
the way
that
they handle
issue
it.
other places, is not focusing on zoning, they're
I mean,
focused on registering as
yeah.
a landlord, kind of.
Right. City council can pass municipal ordinances for lighting and all sorts of everything,
Sounds
you know?
very
They can ban
restrictive.
laser pointers, spray paint,
I guess.
you name it. Okay, but the thing, I don't know exactly what the right way, but there's kind of a pattern that's been established over the last few decades where the city council, when they want to do anything, they do it via zoning. I think that's probably not the way they should do everything,
Yeah,
but it is the way they do things. There was a petition about outdoor lighting that came in as a zoning petition.
but
And I-
that's different, because that involves a lot of commercial, I don't know,
Well,
I'll have to
well,
look.
I spoke at the hearings on that
Yeah.
and said it shouldn't be a zoning, but it should be a municipal ordinance, and that's where it
Yeah.
became.
Okay.
I don't know that it's ever passed, but that's really the better way to
Do
do
you
the
have this on your
regulation.
website, those two petitions?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So anyway, the
definitely wanna
Cockrell
look at
petition
that.
and the city council petition.
yeah,
So they're having planning board hearings tonight, both of them. And tomorrow
I'm
afternoon,
gonna try to go to that at 3:30 at
ordinance
City
committee
Hall.
on the Cockrell petition.
Right.
That's the
I think it's
industry.
Oh, it's just
industry
on one petition.
Just one.
Oh.
The following week is the
Oh.
ordinance committee meeting on the city council petition.
Okay, do
And
you
it's a
know
little-
the date of that, or?
I have it here somewhere.
Okay,
But it's a little ticklish because there
Yeah.
is a provision, I think we mentioned on the program 2 weeks ago here,
Yeah.
is that you wanna be a little careful here because if the planning board gives a negative approval to the Cockrell petition,
right,
and if the city council sort of votes it down, then they have basically, they cannot take up a short-term rental
right, you said-
scheme and via zoning
so
for
you-
another 2 years.
so they basically will just
So-
not decide anything?
Well, basically, you just better not do 2 for 2. So if the planning board says thumbs down, planning board could decide strategically to
Yeah.
offer no opinion.
Right, which is probably
Right.
sounds like the best,
But if they say thumbs down, then the city council has to basically just let it die.
Wow.
If that's the one that they don't want because they
Yeah.
prefer their own petition,
yeah,
which I expect will
Yeah.
be the case, then they should just let the other one just expire, right, and take
Yeah.
up their own petition. Or if
Yeah.
there is any quality substance in some of the language on this Cockrell
Mhm.
petition, they can borrow that and amend their own petition.
which
to
came
improve it.
first?
Well,
Cockrell?
unfortunately, the Cockrell petition came in first because the city
Yeah.
council was dilly-dallying
Yeah.
about
So by the
this.
way, it's actually a week from tomorrow is the other
Right, so it's in
hearing, so it's May
consecutive
31st,
Yeah.
at the same time.
Right,
Okay.
but I think this is a big deal because
Yeah.
right now people are,
Mhm.
they are arguing, I think probably, in all honesty, that
Yeah,
their ability to sort of stay in their buildings, if they've
Yeah.
bought it in recent years, they're carrying a lot of debt,
Mm.
may depend upon their ability to generate that income. But, off of doing Airbnb as opposed to just regular renting an apartment, right?
yeah, I've talked to different people about it, and I think you're right. I mean, they can make more money theoretically by doing Airbnb instead of renting it out. However, the hassle involved, it depends on how much hassle you
Yeah,
want.
yeah.
Um,
And I guess I would argue, this also, do you want the whole city to be, let's take the extreme here.
Yeah,
Do you want all rental property to become Airbnb and have no more apartments? That's not gonna
Whoa.
happen, by the way.
yeah,
Or do you wanna kind of put some limits on things so that, I mean, I actually spoke at Envision Cambridge,
yeah,
I'm on this housing working group,
yeah,
and I made a suggestion which will probably piss off a few people, but I basically
Yeah.
said that maybe there's whatever's left of the 2-family and 3-family housing stock in Cambridge, we should not be allowed to turn them into condos anymore because it would be nice to preserve a nucleus of multifamily privately owned homes because historically, that's actually was the most important source of affordable housing of all.
Right, but then the other side would argue, but home ownership, people want home ownership and they can't afford to have a whole house, so
Right,
they
so
buy a
think,
condo.
so what happened
So how
was
do you
is that,
answer those people?
I'll answer it simply to
Alright,
say that once
yeah.
upon a time, the number of condominiums as sort of a class of home ownership in the
Mhm.
city was tiny. And then
Well, before
now
the whole
it
change.
eclipses all others,
Yeah, well,
right? So maybe there's enough, and the number of triple deckers have greatly dwindled. The number of two families is much less than it was.
you can get a whole lot more for a condo than you can renting it out.
Right. But,
So, I mean, people buying those 3 families
Yeah.
are converting them to that purpose.
well, developers are doing that typically.
Well, even someone
Right.
that, is gonna live in one unit and is
Right,
gonna make
but,
the other
but the
two.
model that worked for many, many, many decades, really a century, was the notion if you were a working class kind of person,
They
with some
don't
skills.
exist anymore.
No, they do exist. Maybe we're pricing them out of Cambridge.
Well, that's
because
it. They exist, but not in
multifamily
Cambridge.
opportunities, that was how they got
They're
in.
$1 million now. You can't afford it.
Well, I don't know.
You could
We'll
not
see.
afford it.
Maybe I couldn't afford it now.
Yeah, that's what I'm
true.
saying.
Yeah. But anyway,
Yeah.
having opportunities like that, a range of opportunities. I don't want to see the whole housing
These are the
stock.
decisions being made by the families that have maybe a son or daughter that's in those buildings now and debating whether to sell. This is happening. I
it's a
know where it's
dilemma.
happening right in Riverside.
It's a very serious
They
dilemma.
want $2 million for their 3
Yeah.
family.
Well, I mean, listen, I get the letters all the time. People
Oh,
saying,
oh,
"I'll give
yeah,
you,
they-
I'll
oh,
give you,
yeah.
I'll give you
Yeah.
$2 million for
Exactly.
your triple decker."
You're right. You're
Happens
stocked.
all the time, and I'm sick of it, quite honestly.
All right, so that'll be
But-
interesting. I'm going to try to go to that meeting and we'll report.
Yeah.
But no meeting next week, right?
Um,
It's a holiday or
right, it's
well,
Labor Day.
Well, we're not going to meet live,
Not
but
Labor Day,
hopefully,
Memorial Day,
hopefully you'll
Right,
have some
so-
kind of show.
possibly. So
All right.
we'll see about that.
Okay.
So anyway, we've just
See you
eaten
when we
up
see
the
you.
second
Yeah,
half hour.
just
So
gone.
we'll be back
Couple weeks maybe.
pre-recorded next week, or
Yeah.
more likely in 2 weeks. So see you
Okay,
then.
bye.